The British education system. Now, RM Waters was very confused about our education system, and I tried to explain it in a comment, but I think a video might help a bit more. So, with the British education system, we start off in what we call nursery, which I believe is similar to kindergarten in America. It's basically like when you're particularly young and your parents are working or something and they need somewhere to put you. It's like, I think it's like, if I remember rightly, it's something like 3 to 4 years old you're in nursery, something like that. But when you start proper school, you start off in reception, then go up to year 1, year 2, year 3, and that's key stage 1. That's part of primary school. That's what people call juniors. Or is it juniors, or is it... No, infants. That's in olden days, when my parents were young, that's what was called infants. And it's key stage 1, and it's from reception to year 3. And in key stage 1, it's not very different to key stage 2, other than in key stage 2 the work is slightly harder. But it's still in the same building, it's still in primary school, which is probably like, I guess, grade school to you guys? I don't know. Anyway, primary school is reception to year 6. Year 6 is 10 to 11 years old when you leave year 6, depending on when you were born. No, you start at 10, you finish at 11. Yeah, that's it. You start when you're 10, you finish when you're 11. Yep, okay. And reception is like... Reception is 4 and 5 years old, I believe. But yeah, year 4 to year 6 is key stage 2, and that's when the work gets slightly harder, and from my experience, key stage 2 was when you're allowed to start using a pen for your work and you didn't have to use a pencil. You had to like prove that your handwriting was good enough to use a pen in my school. I'm not sure if that was the same for all schools, but that's what happened in mine. And within classes we had like different tables, and the tables were like assigned to colours, and like there was like the tables for like the smarter people, and then there was like, you know, and it went down and down and down, kind of like in secondary school there were classes for that, but in primary school, because it was just one big like 2 big classes for the year, it was just tables. But yeah, so reception to year 6 is primary school, split into key stage 1 and key stage 2. Secondary school is literally the entirety of key stage 3. It's 5 years, it's from 11 to 16, year 7 to year 11. In year 9 you get to choose options, which basically means you do the basic subjects, maths, English, science, PE, and a specialist subject, which generally each school has a specialist subject that you have to take. Some have like art, others have, like mine particularly had technology, like not technologies in like IT, technologies in like design and technology. You had to choose what we call the tech subject, which was either textiles, woodwork, graphic design, hospitality and catering was one. And there was another one as well, I can't remember what it was. But that was basically that. But then we could choose, like, I think it was like 2 options and then a tech option. But there were some subjects that took up more than one option. But then they changed it when I got into year 9, it was all weird because nothing took up 2 options anymore. But yeah, so you've got to choose options in year 9, and then kind of you do your... Well, also, quick point, year 6 you do SATs, or SATs. They determine kind of what classes you'll be in when you move into secondary school, I believe. And you can get up to, I think it goes in levels, and you get from like level 1, most people only get to level 5 maximum, but I personally got to level 6, but I've heard people talking about level 7 and stuff, and I never heard of that when I was in primary school. No one ever got level 7. But anyway, yeah, those are like, you do, with your SATs, you do, or SATs, you do a general maths test, a general science test, a general English test and a mental arithmetic test, which is like mental maths, where you have like a certain number of seconds to do to do the question, which is on the sheet. No, not isn't. It is on the sheet. It gets read out to you through a tape recording. And you get a certain amount of time to do each question. And yeah, that was an interesting exam. Anyway, yeah, you do those, and then you get like then you don't even know your scores or anything. You get told which level you're in, but then you just go into like secondary school, and they're like, okay, you're in these classes. In secondary school is when you had different teachers for different subjects. Like in primary school, you always had one teacher for like the entire thing. In secondary school, you have a tutor, you have a head of year, and then you have different teachers for each subject. And sometimes you get the same teacher for two different subjects. I had the same. For the first year I was in secondary school, my tutor was my drama teacher, and sometimes you get the same teachers the next year. Like, you have like one set of teachers one year, and then when you move up here, you have a different set of teachers normally. Sometimes you get the same teachers like twice in a row, or sometimes I've had them 3 times in a row. So yeah, that's a bit of an odd way to do it, but that's how it happens. Then in secondary school you do exams in year 9, which then you do your options, and because there's some options that require you to have certain, like, not so much grades, but you need to like know the subject well enough. Like, there are 3 types of science. There is like just normal science, like core science we call it, or there is double award, which is where you get like the equivalent of 2 GCSEs, or there is triple science, where you do separate biology, chemistry, and physics, and you get 3 GCSEs for it separately. Yeah, and that's the main one, where you have to have particularly good grades to do like the double award or the triple science. But yeah, then in year 11 you do your GCSEs, which are like basically they're what get you into college, which is like 16 to 18. It's like a gap year, like a gap between secondary school and university. But yeah, college is 16 to 18. That's like you get your GCSEs and then you go to college, and in college you just choose 4 subjects. That's all you do. You choose 4 subjects for the first year, and then you drop to 3 in the second year, because the second year is more intense. And then you get A-levels, and A-levels are then what get you into university. And because the first year of college, you take exams and you get AS levels, which are like half of an A level, and then you drop one subject, so you've got an AS level in that subject, and then the other 3 you move on to do A levels in. And then once you've done that, then you generally, people move on to university, but some people don't. Some people do apprenticeships, or they do, or they just go straight into a job or something like that. But in university, that's when you do your degree, and you basically choose 1 or 2 subjects. You choose one, or it's either one subject or like a joint thing. Like, it has to be like a specific joint thing. Like, you can do like psychology, like you can do like sports psychology, so you can do like psychology and like PE, I guess, like as one thing, or you can do like you can do I think you can do like biochemistry, so like biology and chemistry kind of mixed together, but I think biochemistry is a separate subject, so I'm not sure if that works the same way. But you can have like, I think it's like psychology and philosophy and stuff like that, and like subjects that go together but aren't the same subject. And yeah, I think you do like Latin and law or something like that, probably, that's somewhere. But yeah, yeah, so university is where you do your degree, and when you do your degree, there are different types of degrees, and I don't entirely know how it works completely, but I know that basically there is several different types of degree. The time you spend in uni depends on the subject. Like, if you want to do medicine, I believe it's like 5 years, and then you've got to do other things afterwards. Like, you've got to do 5 years in uni, then a 2-year rotation in a hospital, and then you get to pick your specialisation. So like you're like kind of like an intern, I guess, in hospital for 2 years. But then if I think to be a vet, it's 7 years. I think something like that. That's in university. But yeah, because the different types of degrees, because there is like, there's right. Let's work this out. There is a bachelor's degree, which I believe is like the lowest form of degree, which only takes like 3 years. Then you can stay a bit longer and do a master's degree, which is obviously worth slightly more than a bachelor's degree. And then there is a PhD, which is a doctorate of philosophy, which is basically it's the highest form of degree, because basically if you get a PhD, you're a doctor of whatever your chosen field is. Like you can technically be a doctor of maths, because if you do a PhD in maths, you are a doctor of maths. It's really odd. However, an actual medical degree has different letters. It's MD because it's medical degree, obviously, medical doctor, or doctor of medicine, whatever you want to call it. But basically, then you're a doctor who works in a hospital, obviously. But yeah, basically the only way to get the title doctor is to go to uni and do a PhD, or an MD. But yeah, I don't think there's anything above PhD, but you can do, I think master's degree and PhD are classed as postgraduate courses, like, because you've got undergraduate, which is basically people going to get a bachelor's degree, which is basically what most people do. It's kind of the cultural norm. And then you do postgraduate stuff to get like a master's or a PhD. If I'm right. If anyone knows different, then feel free to correct me, because I don't know much about the degree system because I didn't go to university. I'm doing an online course, which is a completely different type of qualification. Because my course is what's known as a City and Guilds, which is more like a practical type qualification. Because my qualification is in game development, so I can like do practical stuff for it. But yeah, it's kind of an odd system, I guess, but it's not too different from the American system, I don't think. Like, until you get to like the degree system, then it kind of completely changes. But yeah, pretty sure that like from what you said on your video, RM Waters, if you're watching, they're quite similar, and there isn't that much to understand. Like the key stages confuse it a bit, but they're not really relevant that much. Like, it's very rare you hear anyone mention key stages now. It's just like, it's literally just year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, all the way up to like year 13, which is like the last year of college. And then you've got uni, and it's just like a first year of uni. But yeah, so that's kind of basically, that is the basic British education system. I will point out that I believe at the end of uni you have to do a dissertation. I'm not sure if this is the same for every subject, but you have to basically kind of write a paper about something relating to your topic, and I think that's right. I think I'm not sure if you do for bachelor's degree, but I think it's a PhD thing. I think you have to write a dissertation to get a PhD. Pretty sure. I can't remember exactly, but I think that's the case. Anyway, I am going to leave this now because wow, I've been talking for 14.5 minutes. I will be editing this, so it will be a lot shorter when I do that, but I'm going to go because I need lunch. So I will see you all next time.